a continent has now defined ourselves.
In the news, Nigeria not included in debt suspension initiative, says World Bank. Biden says U.S. troops may stay longer in Afghanistan past the August 31st withdrawal deadline. And Mali's government transitional president celebrates the military coup that put him in power, says states could not remain in a state of inaction. Nigeria's head coach Gernot Rohr plans Gaura trip ahead of AFCON Group D clash. Details coming up shortly. This is TOS Television, your digital first Pan-African news network, and you're watching TOS News 360. I am Merciful Ajinamo. President Joe Biden says U.S. troops may stay in Afghanistan beyond the August 31st deadline to evacuate Americans as armed Taliban fighters kept desperate evacuees from reaching Kabul's airport. Washington has pledged to evacuate all remaining American citizens, along with 50 to 65,000 Afghans, such as former translators for the U.S. military. In total, America has evacuated more than 5,200 people to date, including 2,000 in the last 24 hours, and aims to expand the airlift to 9,000 people a day. Across Africa, clashes between herders and fishermen in northern Cameroon have killed at least 32 people this month, with 19 villages touched, the UN High Commissioner for Refugees said on Thursday. Some 11,000 people fled to Chad, and a further 7,300 were displaced in Cameroon's far north after fighting broke out on August 10th between Char Arab herders and Mosugum fishermen and farmers. Officials describe the fighting as Cameroon's worst ethnic violence in years that further complicates the security situation in the region, battling insurgency for years. The transitional president of Mali, Colonel Assimi Goïta, in a televised address on the eve of the first anniversary of the military coup which toppled former President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta, celebrates the military coup that led to his ascension of power. The National Army could not remain in a state of inaction. It therefore took its responsibility and intervened to make the people's wish for change a reality, he says. Health activists in Africa have slammed Johnson & Johnson for exporting vaccines produced in South Africa to countries in Europe which have already immunized large numbers of their people and have even donated vaccines to more needy countries. The one-dose J&J vaccines were exported from South Africa, where they had been assembled, despite the pressing need for vaccines across Africa, where less than 3% of the continent's 1.3 billion people have been fully vaccinated. The South African activist on Tuesday called for a full disclosure of the South African government's contract with Johnson & Johnson and other vaccine manufacturers. They threatened legal action to get the information. On the global scene, Brazil's far-right President Jair Bolsonaro has gone on a social media frenzy of blocking social media followers who criticize him, violating their right of freedom of speech and access to information, Human Rights Watch says on Thursday. The rights group said it had identified 176 accounts that were blocked by Bolsonaro, including those of journalists, members of Congress, and social media influencers with more than 1 million followers. In a case involving former U.S. President Donald Trump, a U.S. court ruled in 2019 that a public official cannot block people from social media accounts used for official business just because they express views with which the official disagrees. This is your digital first Pan-African news network, TOS Television, and you're watching TOS News 360. Business and sports stories when we return. Stay with us. Thank you for staying. In business, Oyo State House of Assembly on Wednesday passed the 50 billion naira supplementary budget, which was forwarded to it by Governor Seyi Makinde. The budget, which is for infrastructural development, was passed after the report of the Committee on Public Accounts and Appropriation, headed by the chairman of the committee, Akim Mustafa, and deliberated upon during the plenary. Mustafa said the three projects for which the governor sought the lawmakers' approval were Ibadan Circular Road, Ishayin-Ogbomoso Road, and Ibadan Airport Movement. Nigeria is not a beneficiary of its debt service suspension initiative established by G20 countries, according to the World Bank. The World Bank and the International Monetary Fund urged G20 countries to establish a debt service suspension initiative from the effects of COVID-19 on the world's poorest countries. The reason for Nigeria's exclusion from the World Bank says is because the West African nation owes World Bank $11.51 billion, which is about 35.02% of Nigeria's foreign portfolio. Pension fund administrators, PFAs, are moving most of their pension asset holdings to corporate bonds, even as the total investment in corporate debt securities in May 2021 rose 13.9% to 904.9 billion naira as against 794.7 billion naira in the preceding month. Pension assets investment in CDS comprise corporate bonds, corporate infrastructure bonds, and green bonds. A report from the National Pension Commission (PENCOM) indicates that PFA's pension asset allocation to corporate bonds is about 96.6% of the total CDS asset end of May. The entire aviation industry of Nigeria is experiencing a shortfall of 11.6 billion naira annually from perennial underpricing and poor rates in the ground handling subsector of aviation. A rough estimate in revenue, according to industry's benchmark on average handling rate on the continent, showed that the subsector is worth at least $56.7 million in turnover, as against the half it currently records yearly in Nigeria. Stakeholders and operators alike have described the shortfall as enormous, with severe implications for safe operations and sustainability. To sports, Nigeria Super Eagles head coach Gernot Rohr is anxiously preparing for a trip to Gora, the Cameroon city that will host the AFCON 2021 games, and to get immediate information about the venue's conditions, with which will enable him prepare for the tournament proper. The AFCON 2021 will kick off on January 9, 2022, and Super Eagles will clash with the Pharaohs of Egypt in the match day 1 of Group D on January 11th, face Sudan on January 15th, before taking on Guinea-Bissau 4 days later. Garao, a northern Cameroonian city, has a proximity to Nigeria via the Benue River, which Rohr is happy can facilitate a massive traveling fans of Super Eagles crossing over to support the team. And that is TOS News 360 on your digital first Pan-African news network. For more updates, visit www.tostvnetwork.com. Follow and like our social media handles on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And remember to subscribe on YouTube. Stay with us and enjoy more programs on the network. I am Merciful Ajinamo. Many thanks for watching.
But we as a continent have now defined ourselves.